Hey, welcome back to Troll Time with the Troll King. Uh, Good. It's our third episode. We talk about anything from sports, movies, and anything that's thought provoking. Right now, currently, we're talking about the WNBA. And of course, I've been covering the WNBA with my brother, Antonio Williams, that I'm bringing in right now. Hey, Willie, and a lot has been going on. We just hopping straight into it today. But first of all, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm great. I'm great. It's always good when we get games and back-to-back nights, and it's bittersweet because we get the games, you want to see them, but then as teams start advancing, you're getting toward the end and you're getting less games, so it's anticlimactic in some ways, man.
Nah, you definitely right. Hopping right into it, man. Curt Miller got the axe yesterday, where professionally mutually parted ways with the Los Angeles Sparks. Rather, I read earlier today from a few posts that Magic Johnson is one of the six owners of the Sparks, and he's saying that they basically been sitting back and probably not being as proactive as they need to be to get them back to a competitive level. He finished 25 and 55 in his two seasons with the Los Angeles Sparks. He had two finals appearances during this stretch with Connecticut from 2016 to 2022. Also captured a Coach of the Year award at one time. He's a two-time WNBA Coach of the Year and a one-time Executive of the Year. So, I mean, a lot of expectations that he had coming into the Sparks organization. It didn't, obviously live up to what I'm sure his standard is and what they wanted. But quick thoughts, Curt Miller, did somebody pick him up next year, or what direction do the Sparks go?
It's tough because I think the Sparks, this is one of these things, and I can say this, man, from being on that executive side where you are putting teams together. I've done it in two stints where I've worked for teams, and a lot of things, there are a lot of things that you can say that you need to do better. And then there are a lot of things that are out of your control. One of the things that's out of his control over his 2 seasons coaching, when you look at the amount of games that were missed combined from injuries and illnesses, the Sparks had over 300 games missed in 2 years from the players, from injuries and illnesses over his 2 year stint. That is really, 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 really hard to deal with. It's hard to bounce back from when you don't have your full complement of players in a very difficult league to begin with, where there are no off nights because it's 12 teams. So I think that's one thing. I think the other thing that we have to address as well is we see the Golden State Valkyries coming into the league. We also saw Phoenix get, I know that's near dear to my heart because I worked in scouting for the Suns. We saw a new practice facility dedicated specifically and exclusively to the women that play for the Mercury. We're seeing this across the league, and yet one of the answers that we asked for the Sparks is one of the questions, I'm sorry, what's the practice facility? What is the infrastructure? That also dictates to free agents and the like. Are you really committed to winning? So when all these other teams are investing in facilities, the Aces are with their facility as well, and we're still trying to answer this question as it relates to the Sparks. That's something that's outside of coaching. Injuries, that's something that's outside of coaching. We also saw De'Erica Hamby talk about how instrumental Curt Miller was in her resurgence as a player. So this is a guy that clearly knows the game, clearly has an ability to connect with players. I think we'll see him again. If it's not next year, we'll see him again soon because Curt can coach. There are some things going on in LA outside. So when they say they need to make a commitment, it also has to be to the infrastructure of the team as well.
No, I agree. I think you know somebody will pick them up in some fashion and form. Like I said, I responded on a post yesterday. When the news broke, is that being a great head coach is cool, but you got to have some sturdy assistants along with you
Right.
because head coaches don't get the job done by themselves. So we'll be on the lookout throughout the off season to see what happens to Curt. And no, I don't think this is the end of the road for him, but definitely be interesting to see where he lands. But most importantly, to see who the Sparks pick up. Next topic, DiJonai Carrington takes on the Most Improved Player Award, 2024 WNBA Most Improved Player Award. Announced earlier today, she received 28 out of 67 votes from the national media panel. Averaged 12.7 points, 5 rebounds, 1.6 assists, 1.6 steals. She also recorded a career-high 25 games with 10 or more points. She joined one of her fellow teammates, who Brianna Jones won this award back in 2021. And, Connecticut ultimately finished 28-12 in the regular season and looking to close out the series later on tonight, which we'll get into that as well. But she edged Derricka Hamby. She was second with 18 votes, and then Bridget Carlton, she finished with 15 votes, which was a good sturdy list if you ask me. Your thoughts on Carrington taking on the Most Improved?
I mean, to your point, what you talked about a top 3 team in the league, and you're talking about her role continuing to increase on a championship caliber team. And when you are a young player, that's hard to do because that team is charged with trying to, Curt Miller was doing that, trying to win that championship first. And their aim and their goal is not necessarily to develop you, especially OG when you ain't the first pick in the draft.
Right.
DiJonai Carrington was, almost not drafted. And for her to get to this point and to do what she's done, testament to her, shout out to her. I like the list as well. There are other players. That's the great thing about the W. Other players that we could talk about, but man, shout out to DiJonai. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next as this playoffs continues to advance and they continue to make their run. So yeah, shout out to her for sure.
No, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, you couldn't go wrong with either pick. I mean, Carrington, obviously, we talked about her improvement in one of our earlier episodes, and I mean, you could
Yeah.
see, you can see a huge stair-step ladder in every statistical category. So I think they got it right. No disagreements with me. It's going to be interesting to see what plays out tonight. Let's hop into the games that took place last night. I mean, of course, you had the New York Liberty, and then you had them looking to take out the Atlanta Dream. That game, man, was it was rather interesting because I think the Atlanta Dream came out aggressive, knocking down shots. It kind of looks like the dream that you wish you would see every night in and night
Right.
out. And I
Right.
think that's what we saw in an earlier stretch of the game where, they took a 28-19 lead at the end of the first quarter. Alicia Gray was on fire. She had 14 points. She was 5 for 5, 4 for 4 from the three. And you kind of was, I'm sure Atlanta Dream fans was thinking they was going to, get a chance to push it to a game 3. But then Sabrina said, not so fast. I mean, Sabrina took over. I mean, it was some beautiful basketball, man. Like
No
all the
question.
way around the board. I mean, it was a great game, but Sabrina took over the game. She finished with 36 points, 9 assists, 3 steals, shot 12 for 23 from the field, 5 for 11 from the 3, 7 for 7 from the free throw line. Just a pure master class. And then one of the other keys that we always talk about, online and offline, is Jonquel Jones.
Facts.
20 points, 13 rebounds. 6 of those were offensive, which is just telling me for her is that she was being aggressive, and not just out there, normally circulating the 3-point line and everything like that. So hats off to the Liberty for taking care of business. They won the game 91-82. Alicia Gray finished with 26 points. Ryan Howard, I mean, I still love the way she was playing. She wasn't just settling for the three. She finished with 19 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Once again, a nice floor game where she's showing me that she's engaged on both sides. Canada, she finished with 8 points, 11 assists. Tina Charles, 14 points, 6 rebounds, which I felt like they was going to need a more dominant game from her if they were going to push it to a game three. But it would, I mentioned more. It seems like I mentioned more about the Dream than the Liberty. But I mean, outside of Sabrina taking over, it was pretty much, everybody was stable, but it was like stand back and watch.
Right.
Stewart. Now you think about it. In a closeout game, Stewie only scored 13 points. Like that, if that's anybody else, they probably don't win that game. Like win that
Right.
game. Like I mean, but
Right.
only getting 13 from Stewie and still closing it out. I mean, that just shows how dominant Sabrina was, man. Just give your thoughts on what you thought about the game last night.
Man, it's funny because to your point, I think Atlanta, although they did get more effort, they got more positive play out of Ryan Howard. Jordan Canada played well. Then we got that performance from Alicia Gray. If Atlanta was going to have any chance to win this, of course they had to have their full complement of players. That meant Cheyenne Parker Tyus had to play. Obviously, she's out. Then also, too, Aerial Powers can also give you that scoring punch off the bench as another wing that's athletic that New York would have to contend with. Neither one of those players played this series. Both of them are out. That hurt Atlanta. The other thing about Atlanta as well, when you're playing a team like New York, best team in the league, you're going up against them. You got to get some freebies. You got to get some easy points. Atlanta went to the line 9 times last night and only made 5 of them. That is
Right.
big. And then, you look at, of course, you juxtapose that. Of course, Sabrina did her thing, but New York actually made more free throws than Atlanta attempted. So that's always a recipe for disaster when you look at this. Atlanta had to be much more aggressive. Even Ryan Howard, she was 1 of 6 from three. Again, with her first step, when she would put pressure on the rim, put pressure on the paint, and get those paint touches, especially if you may not get that normal effort from Tina Charles. Man, I wanted to see Ryan Howard really put her head down and get to the paint even more. So I'm looking for her to take that jump. The thing about New York that's interesting, and you know this, man, when you're trying to win a title, sometimes you're not going to play your best and you still got to win those games. Yes, you got to win. You got to go in there and beat the brakes off of people, but you also got to win some games that maybe you shouldn't win. And they stole one last night, and that's a mark of a team that's on a mission.
No question. And it's kind of the same with their next up opponent. As we segue into that, the Liberty, uh, it's funny to say this because they're the number one overall seed, but they faced the defending champions in the Aces, and the Aces is one of those teams, as you mentioned, they find a way to get it done, no matter what, and it happened in their first 2 games with the Storm as they took out the Storm last night, 83 to 76. And it was a point in that game where you thought the Storm might have been able to push it to a game three. But
Right.
then, Kelsey Plum, she woke up. And, it only takes one of those guards for them, to me, to change the course of the game, whether that's Jackie or whether that's Plum from the scoring aspect of it. Because the one thing about Jackie Young is she's gonna always play a floor game, like
No
because
question.
she's one of the best two-way guards that can do it, whether it's scoring or whether it's rebounding, getting assists. Speaking of that, she had 9 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists, and she, that's coming from from your guard or slash
Right.
forward, however you want to put it, because they have a three-headed monster because Gray at point and Kelsey at the 2 or Jackie at the 3 or how they're all interchangeable. I mean, because even when Chelsea was out, Jackie did a great job for mine at the point guard position.
Right.
So
Right. Love me some Jackie Young.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. But to get into it, I mean, it started out. Las Vegas came out uh, 30-20 lead at the end of the first. The second half, towards the end, it got close, but they managed to pull away. But it was kind of bittersweet for me because Gabby Williams had one of her best scoring outputs
Yep.
since she's been with Seattle. And unfortunately, it's the last game, but she finished with 20 points and 5 rebounds. You had a double double from NECA with 16 points, 10 rebounds, and then Ezzy, she came back 14 points, 7 rebounds. Wasn't a real factor as she has been from the defensive standpoint. No block shots, which is definitely not traditional for her. Skylar Diggins, she had 13 points and 10 assists, but mind you, she shot 5 for 17, and she was tied with taking her and NECA shot 5 for 17. The Storm only shot 38%.
Exactly.
And that tells a large part of the story. But honestly, I don't want to see Skylar shooting 17 times. I mean, that's just me when Jewel Lloyd is only getting 11 shots. And I mean, and she took out of the starting five, out of the team completely, she took almost the least amount of shots. Ezzy took 10, and then she took 11, but everybody else was 16 and 17. Like, makes no sense. I don't know if you've seen the tweet from Jewel Lloyd's mom. She kind of put the coach on blast, basically talking about
Okay.
Jackie not playing, which really I didn't understand that part because she played 33 minutes. But saying that she really doesn't run plays for her or anything like that. And I couldn't argue with moms right there. I think Seattle could do more than what they do. And before I turn it over to you, I want to spin back around because I don't want to make this all about Seattle. But hats off to the Aces. This is their 6th consecutive trip to the semifinals. That's a tough feat within itself. Angel Wilson, of course, 24 points, 13 rebounds, just 2 blocks, 2 assists, just another steady night for her. So efficient, 9 for 17 from the field, 1 for 2 from the 3, 5 for 5 from the free throw line. Chelsea Gray, 12 points, 9 assists. Didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but I don't always expect that from Chelsea. I think her being aggressive like that opens up the way she likes to play the game, and she's more of a facilitator. So open it up. Then you got Tiffany Hayes, 9 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists off the bench. This is kind of what Angel Wilson mentioned in the press conference after the game. She's saying like every year is not going to look the same. Like, of course they're going for their 3rd title, but it's not going to look the same. And this year definitely hasn't looked like the first 2, but here we are back in position to win another title, and that's really all you can ask for. Your thoughts real quick on the game, Willie?
It's funny, man, and I've said this to you before, with the year that New York is having right now, and with the start that the Aces got off to with the injuries and things, we don't really see oftentimes a team going for a three-peat and they're playing with house money. It's just my feeling. It feels like people think that the Aces aren't going to win it. So again, most of the time when we see people coming in and they've won 2 straight titles, now that pressure starts mounting because the expectation is this is the best team in the league and all those different things. I kind of don't feel like that's going on with the Aces, OG. I feel like they are playing with house money because again, New York feels like they have a redemption story. They're the number 1 team in the league. I feel like the Aces, if a team that's won 2 straight titles with the best player in the world can slide under the radar, I feel like that's what we got going on right now, man. So it's weird to me that they're playing with house money. Quick thing I'll say about Asia Wilson. A lot of times when we look at players, there's with great players, that's a lot of hyperbole. There's a lot of times they get too much credit for when things go well. And then when things don't go well, a lot of times with great players, even when they have numbers, we just say, well, they didn't have enough help. So one of the things that we sort of don't appreciate as much with great players is how much they improve, because we think that great players were always great players
Right.
and they were always playing at this level. The amount of improvement that Asia Wilson has showed in the W, if I'm a post player, a young post player, and I need to get my skills right, I'm hitting Asia and being like, yo, what did you do? Because, man, she came in, obviously, she was rookie of the year, but her improvement has been noticeable if you like basketball. Then the other thing, man, Chelsea Gray, man, hashtag point guard life, controlled the game last night, completely controlled the game. Aces don't get the credit that they deserve for the defense that they play as a team. They are really locked in as a unit, always in the right places, which is why part of the reason why Seattle shot that low percentage. And the other thing it led to was that just the difference and the discrepancy in rebounding. The Aces out rebounded the Storm by 15 rebounds last night, 45-30. When you do that to a team, you basically, there's no way that team can win, really. So shout out to the Aces for taking care of business. I expected a little more from the Storm, to be honest with you. Again, we talked about it before, especially when you getting scoring from Gabby and the way that she has in game one and game two, which I love to see because, we love Gabby.
Right.
I don't know if Ezzy is all the way back. I think she played. Of course, she cleared protocol. I'm not saying that, but I don't know if she was all the way back. And then for you to be gone and then come in and, oh, by the way, you got to go to the deep end because the best player in the world, you got to deal with that. That's really, really hard. Last thing I'll say about Seattle, I love Coach Quinn. I told you that online and offline. I'll say this about Seattle as it relates to Jewel Lloyd. I hope Jewel Lloyd comes back and has a good offseason so she can come back healthy so we can see what Jewel Lloyd is in the playoffs, because I think in order for them to beat the Aces, we had to see the real Jewel Lloyd. And because of injury, not because she's not great, I don't know if the real Jewel Lloyd was standing up in that series.
Yeah, I wonder that too. I mean, of course, it, it's it's different with the WNBA because a lot of people look at it different because of the difference in salaries and things of that nature. Like in the NBA, when a player is hurt or if they can play, people want them to play because they're like, "Hey, man, you getting paid millions of dollars, like to play." But and
Great point.
so me, I mean, of course, I think they toughed it out and played. I mean, who knows if Jewel Lloyd was ever 100 coming back. Like, but of course, anybody who's been an athlete and play at a high level and been good, nobody wants to sit. And if you feel like you can give an ounce, you gonna go give that ounce. And I think
Right.
that's probably what happened with them. But it's gonna be yet to see what happens with that team and. Because they got some decisions to make. Because this definitely, to me, if you ask me, this is kind of a fold job by the Seattle Storm. Now, don't get me wrong, you're playing against a defending champ, but I actually think that they were matched up. I don't think, to put it like this, I don't think Seattle could build a better team to beat the Aces than what they have now, and to get swept. Now, I'm saying if it goes to a game 3, hats off, like. Okay, but they get swept. And we're not talking about they didn't dominate them. But like I said, for the fact that they have the roster that they have and couldn't pull out a game, and we're not talking about average starting five or average roster because, I mean, outside of the starting five for the Aces and you got Tiffany Hayes coming off the bench, it's a toss-up sometimes what you're going to get from everybody else. So
Right.
I think they matched up great. I actually am now kind of getting into this as we segue into the next, matchups regarding them later on down the line. But I think they match up better than the Liberty does with the Aces. And that's going to be yet to be seen. We're going to talk about that probably in the next day or so.
Yeah.
We'll get to that, but right now we're going to swing it to tonight's matchups. Heavily anticipated matchups tonight. 7:30 is probably going to be. Now everybody's been talking about records. I guarantee you tonight's game at 7:30 will be the most watched game, any WNBA game of the season, because it's and for one or two reasons. One is that this could be Caitlin Clark's last game of the 2024 season. Two, she could have another game in the 2024 season. And definitely like what me and you talked about is that Indiana at home in a one-game scenario,
Man.
I could take them over anybody. So that's going to be really heavy to see. Just a quick thing that I seen today on Twitter regarding the poke in the eye situation.
Man.
That's been the whole thing with Caitlin Clark and what she's brought to the game. You got a lot of people like us who've been watching the WNBA since its existence, and and just been fans over the years, regardless of who's suiting up or anything like that. And then, of course, hats off to Caitlin Clark for having a tremendous fan base and having the reach that she has, but then also the fact that she can play.
Right.
Now,
Right.
the flip side of that, and I'm not blaming her, but there's a lot of people who push their own personal agendas behind her name and what she's brought to the table. And that's the part that I feel like is unjust to her. And it kind of puts a quote unquote black eye on the sport. DiJonai Carrington was being interviewed, and they asked her about it. She said she told the person that was giving the interview that she didn't intentionally hit her in the eye or anything like that. And then a few questions later, the interviewer asked her, well, about her and Mabry laughing about something. And she kind of insinuated that they were laughing about DiJonai poking Caitlin in the eye. And as DiJonai answered gracefully, like, how can I be laughing about something that initially I didn't even know I poked her in the eye because I was making a play on the ball, which is, people going to have their opinions and their assumptions. But if you play basketball, somebody has the ball, you're trying to make a play on the ball. I mean, if you were going straight for the eye, you go straight for the eye. You don't even go for the ball. So, like, and as quick as that happens, there's no way that it could be intentional. Now, to top it off, Caitlin was asked about it, and Caitlin said that she didn't feel like it was intentional or anything like that. And that's kind of, to me, where it could be left. But that's just an example of people just pushing their own agendas. And that happens in the media, and it happens everywhere. I mean, hell, we could do it right here on this show, but that's not the route that I like to take. But like I said, it's unfortunate. But to keep the eyes on the series tonight, 7:30. I mean, I'm gonna be locked. I'm gonna be locked in because I'm from the Midwest. I'm not telling nobody where I'm from, but if you look at my backdrop, some people can get an idea. But I'm from the Midwest. And so naturally, I'm only an hour and a half from Indiana. So, I mean, I always, even when Catchings was with the Fever, me and my daughter used to.
Love me some Tamika catches. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
me and my daughter used to go to the game. So I've kind of always had, like, that was the first pro team that I ever went to a game. So and to see them like in a point where they can actually be a contender again, I mean, hey, I'm not mad about it, but I mean, my heart is with the Fever tonight, but if I got to be a betting man, I got to go with Connecticut for a few reasons. Not that I don't think the Fever can win, but I think experience plays a part, and I just think the overall team chemistry is better in Connecticut than it is in Indiana currently. I think, and I still think Connecticut has another ceiling that they can reach if they want to make it to the finals. But that's my take on it. I'm gonna pass the ball over to you, Willie.
It's interesting, man. Like, what do you call yourself? You the troll king, right?
Right,
So with you the troll king, we gotta have some drama, right?
right.
We need a game three, man.
Without a doubt,
We
without a
need a
doubt.
game three, right? We need a game three so we can get more of this discourse about the W. And what you were talking about with that reporter, again, it's so funny to me how people are covering this sport now. And it pays, what do they say? Membership has its privileges.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
are part of the WNBA membership. We're also part of basketball membership in the community. So you can't take the Melo celebrating the three and take that and say, "Oh, you were making fun of when you poked Caitlin Clark in the eye with Marina Mabry." This is what they were laughing at. So again, when you have people, membership has its privileges. When you have people that know basketball, they know that this is not making fun of you poking somebody in the eye. Right? Like
Right.
it is crazy that people think that and they push that. And it either shows, A, number one, you're not part, you don't have membership in this community, or B, maybe they have different membership in a different community, the troll king community. And you know better, so you're trolling because you know you're gonna get a reaction. So it's so funny to me, man, to see this. But and when we're looking at this from a basketball perspective, I really want to see some game threes. I want to see the top seed playing with a little bit of pressure on them. Right now, the top seeds have all been front running, the higher seeds. I want to see a higher seed have to play with some pressure. I want to see the pucker effect. I want to see when you get nervous and everything clinches up. I need to see that. So for me, I definitely want to see a game three. I would love to see the spectacle and the pageantry of it being in Indiana. With that being said, I know that Connecticut, like you said, with their experience, understands the urgency. They are considering the time and the moment. I don't think we're going to see that game three. I want to see it though, but I don't think we are.
Right now, tonight, Ty Harris, she's a game time decision. What's more is more interesting. Tiffany Mitchell is
Man,
saying her anticipated estimated return date is the 27th.
man.
So that could be big for them. I mean, if she's healthy, they advance tonight. Get some more time to rest into that next round. But no, I agree with everything you said. I mean, it's going to be intriguing. I mean, a game three would be it would be
I need to
something.
watch.
But definitely, let's hop on over to Phoenix and
Hold
Minnesota.
on, real quick, OG. Let me
Go
say
ahead.
this about this series too. Man, we love point guards on this series. I mean, on this show. That's the position that you and I play. If Veronica Burton does what she did in the previous game, there's no way Indiana wins.
Oh no, no, definitely. I was a pleasant surprise, and like you even said it, like you just don't always see the consistency in the minutes that she does get. I mean, it's not like she
Right,
gets a ton of them, but most of the time you won't see a ton of minutes if you're not doing anything with the minutes that you're getting. So,
right.
that definitely was a pleasant surprise for them. Minnesota, and that game is tonight, 7:30, of course, on ESPN. Next series following that is 9:30. The Mercury at Minnesota. Me personally, I don't care how it happens or what happens. I don't see Phoenix beating Minnesota. I just I just don't see it. I think Minnesota has too much. Um, they they can get the job done either way. I mean, whether it's close, whether it's a blowout. I just think they have too many weapons. You never know who's going to be the X factor. And when I say that, of course, Nafisa Collier is. I mean, it goes without saying. But
Right.
you get 20 points. I think in the first game from Kayla McBride, she hasn't been dropping 20 consistently all season. And then, you know, you never know when Bridget will explode for a 16, 18. I think Elena Smith has still been like quietly getting the job done from the scoring
Right.
aspect of it. But you just never know. And even off the bench, now you got Hines Allen. What's the left hand guard? I can't really pronounce her name. Left hand guard, Heidelman or yeah,
Yeah, Natisha
Heideman.
Heidemann. Natisha
Yeah,
Heidemann.
she
Yeah,
like she's been known to come in and be a disruptor, knock
yeah.
down a few shots here and there. Haven't seen much from from Courtney Williams. I mean, I definitely won't forget her.
Man, she's had a great year.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they just too connected.
Right, right.
And the last thing I can remember from the first game, it kind of reminded me of the Connecticut game, is when Carlton knocked down the 3-point shot, left side, almost identical spot, a little more to the corner against Phoenix to kind of put that away. But she did the same thing against Connecticut that put that game away. And I just think they got too much. They're on there. Everybody's on a mission. Excuse me. Everybody's on a mission in this playoffs. You got the Liberty on a revenge tour. You got the Aces trying to repeat. You got Minnesota who kind of snuck into the back door, so to speak. Because if you would have asked anybody at the beginning of the year, where did they see Minnesota? I don't think that they say 30-10, win the Commissioner's Cup, and now one game away from the semifinals. I just don't see that. I think they've had a lot of elevation from a lot of different players, and it's showing prove. I'm taking Minnesota, and you know, on this side, it worked out in their favor because I felt like whoever didn't get the Aces in the semis is probably going to get to the final. I don't see Connecticut. If that is to happen, I don't see Connecticut beating Minnesota in a 5-game series. Maybe in a 3, but I don't see it in a 5. But I'm taking Minnesota, and Phoenix is going to be another team that's going to have a lot of things to figure out. Even whether Diana goes or stays or whatever, I still think they got a lot to figure out. Because they're another team that has I kind of look at them like Seattle. I don't think they can put together a better roster than what they had, but they just didn't get the output. Now I know Rebecca Allen was a nice piece for them earlier in the year
That's
before she
big
got
one.
hurt.
Yeah,
I
that's big.
definitely love the way she played. I got a chance to watch her play when she played for the Liberty. 3-and-D, long, lengthy, sneaky, athletic, and I think that hurt them as far as depth and what they were
And
getting from her as well. But I'm going Minnesota.
yeah, I think Minnesota closes it out. The thing that you look at with Phoenix is when you're a team that plays off of emotion a lot, it's great when you're channeling that emotion in the right direction. Sometimes you can get a little too high strung, or sometimes if you're playing flat, other teams can take advantage of that. So one of the things I would keep an eye on is what type of emotion Phoenix comes out with, knowing that because to me, with the pageantry that we saw as it relates to DT, it kind of feels like this is the last season. So, do they come out with more emotion with that? Hey, we don't have anything to lose. I think one of the things that we need to pay attention to also is in that game one, Brittany Griner did not have a great game. So, if they get some production from DT, actually played well. And then, of course, we talked about Tasha Cloud and what she did 33-10, I believe. Of course, you don't necessarily look from that out of her. She's capable. But if they can get Kalea Copper being very, very efficient, get some more scoring from Brittany Griner, and she's really shutting down the paint, this could be interesting. I still think Minnesota wins it and they move on and advance.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's as funny as it is. I almost thought Phoenix was going to pull out the first game, and then Minnesota hit a switch.
Right.
So I'm kind of thinking more so like Atlanta was last night. I think Phoenix had come out hungry. And that's really going to be the tale of the tape. Whether they can sustain it, that's going to have to be proven. But I think they're going to come out aggressive and hungry and trying to extend it. If it gets to Phoenix, that's the trick to the best of threes in the WNBA.
That's going to be a scene.
If you can push it to game 3 and get home, anything can happen.
Right.
But it's a tough task trying to win 2 games on the road. And especially in these environments that these teams are playing in, trying to get 2 wins in the Barclays, trying to get 2 wins in Connecticut, trying to get 2 wins in Minnesota. Like, it's tough. And it's just it's something. Like I said, if they can manage to do it, which is, I feel like you said, if Brittany Griner can be assertive in the paint, get 20 plus, 10 plus rebounds and get Copper going from the perimeter, then hey, who knows? But we both got Minnesota. And just before we get out of here, man, I always ask you, hey, Will, is it anything that we forgot? Anything you want to get off your chest or anything like that? Or what you got for us?
Keep watching these damn games. That's what I really want. And keep engaging with my guy, because you guys make it so entertaining for me so I can read. I want to engage. So, yeah, just keep doing that. I love it.
No doubt. And this is the last words for me. I hope everybody's enjoying the content. I'm going to be more active in attacking a lot of other different things that's non-WNBA related right now, but it's a passion of mine with the WNBA, so that's where I'm at right now. But stay locked in. It's going to be more to come. Like I said, I'm going to be trying to pull some of these supporters, because I don't really say followers or anything like that, but I'm going to pull some of these supporters in here, and I'm going to get with A. Willie, and we're probably going to go live a few times, especially when we start getting down probably to the finals and different things like that. So stay locked in. And if you don't remember anything else, just always make sure you remember this. I'm here to laugh, show love, promote, talk sports, movies, joke, and troll. Catch you on the next episode.